Hello, everybody. I'm Bobby Stapleton, Senior Director of Human Support here at Intercom, and thank you for joining us for this new mini series, if you will, of the ticket. We're going to try calling them Fin Conversations, where you get to look behind the curtain, get a sneak peek at all of the inside scoop that the CS leaders here at Intercom, our day-to-day conversations, the problems that we face, look into the curtain of what it's like running a support team who's AI first. And so to join us for the first one of these is my peer, Ruth O'Brien. Ruth, thanks for being here today. Maybe just tell the folks what you do at Intercom in case they don't know.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here today. Like Bobby said, I'm like the other side of the coin for our customer support team. Bobby leads the human team, and I lead our AI support team. So that means that my team implement our Fin AI agent for our own customer service team here at Intercom. One part of my job is that I'm a CS leader, like any other, who wants to improve things like efficiency, cost, customer experience, using AI. But the other side is that because we use our own tools, we have to show off those tools to the best of their ability to our customers, or they're not going to want to buy them. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of pressure. And yeah, really excited to chat today.
Awesome. And Ruth, I feel like one of the things you and we spend our one-on-ones, we spend our leadership meetings talking about is how to maintain our really strong resolution rates. We're currently above the 75% resolution, which is freaking insane. If you'd asked me that years ago, I would have bet a lot of money that was impossible, and I'm happily been proven wrong. But there's so much work that goes into not just getting up to that resolution, but maintaining those high res rates. And we talk about this. We hear our customers asking about this. Yeah, I wanted to open it up for like, what do you think are one of the biggest things that can really help improve or help maintain those res rates?
Yeah, so something I would say is that it definitely, while it takes a village, so a bunch of people in our team are involved in Fin performance and Fin results and making sure that things like the content are kept up to date. But what I would say is that you do need to make sure that some folks have it as their primary responsibility. So, as in, like, someone like me who has a team of folks whose primary responsibility is taking care of our AI and the results based on our AI implementation. But also on my team, I have a knowledge manager, so essentially a content manager and a conversation designer. I actually have two of each now. I keep saying like the second two are quite new. But yeah, you need to make sure that you have folks whose primary responsibility is actually taking care of this stuff. Because Bobby, from when the queues get really busy, right? If somebody is meant to be taking care of things like first response times, reacting to customer queues, and part of their world is also doing this more proactive work and long-term strategic work. Like we both know that starts to that's always left down if you need to go and prioritize the queues over everything else. So that's why we made the decision at Intercom to separate these a bit, but then we do actually cross over and work together quite a bit as well.
And having those dedicated folks is such a game changer. And like you said, it's so easy to otherwise put it on the back burner. So makes a huge difference. I know one of the things that they focus on most, especially at a crazy startup company like Intercom, is new product introduction or like the changes in products. It's one thing to make all these great articles, all this great information for Fin, and then a week later, something's totally different. So walk us through a bit of what that team does to handle new product introductions and changing products and how critical that is for res rates.
Oh, it's so critical. Like, do you remember a few years ago when we didn't have that new product introduction process, and like we would find out about a launch like as it was happening, after it happened, or like we haven't, trained our team properly on something that was happening, and we certainly hadn't given an AI agent a bunch of information to ask
Yeah.
questions up front, right? So it was like a whole other world. And again, if you told me a couple of years ago we would be where we are today with the kind of results that we're seeing, I would not have believed you. But yeah, like you said, at a startup like Intercom, where we are just shipping and shipping and shipping, sometimes we're shipping something massive. Always we're shipping like iterative changes. We're experimenting with things. There's a lot going on for our CS team to know about and understand every day. And then also for our customers to like learn about, figure out how, like, what these changes are, what's been launched now. And while it's very exciting for customers and for our team, it can also be very confusing. And while it's confusing, that means that people need to ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Questions of our support team of something new, cool, exciting. Yourself, the queues start to go on, or started anyway, to go on fire when we had something new being launched, right? But now that we have our AI agent Finn and this amazing new product introduction process, we make sure that we have all of the content, well, as much content as possible, right? Obviously, some stuff comes up after launch that we didn't realize customers were confused about. But our knowledge manager works with folks in our R&D team, so the product managers who are shipping the products, to make sure that we have so much documentation built out, both that we can share externally in our help center and that Finn can use, and also then anything internal like troubleshooting guides and things like that, that maybe only are appropriate for our team to understand. So it's all content, right? To enable the team, make sure they're trained, and content for Finn to be able to answer customer questions up front. So one of the examples that I give to try and like bring this to life is that, say you launch something and on the day of launch you get 1,000 conversations from your customers. One of our most recent launches, Finn had a 70% resolution rate. So it meant before we had Finn, 1,000 conversations, new conversations would have gone to our human team. Finn had a 70% resolution rate on this. So it means that Finn handled 700 of those. So those 700 would have ended up with the team if Finn hadn't been given that content and been able to answer. Just to kind of like paint a picture of how important that is. And that's the kind of thing that sometimes we'd see like in a day, right? Not even like a week or a month.
And it's crazy how and again, I'm thinking for support teams, everyone's so busy, or if you don't have the luxury of having these dedicated roles, you can think no one's got time for this. But it's crazy how doing that upfront work makes such a big difference. And so it's that short-term pain for like that very, very much long-term gain. And I would love to hear, because I'm always surprised, uh sad, kind of like a bad surprise when I'll open up, we make, we work with R&D, we make these docs. It's called the What We Built doc, a very creative name. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of information in there, right? Like there's the screenshots of what they've built and how it works and what pricing plans it will work on, or what plans maybe it won't work on. If it's a change to the product, like, hey, here's like how it's different. But it's not like a 20-page exhaustive doc. Like a lot of the time it is, it's not bare bones, but like it's not exhaustive. Like, in like, how does your team take that and make that sufficient for getting these great res rates? Like, how much are they filling in the holes, or like, is that just one piece of the puzzle? And what else would you be recommending support teams to look at in addition to something like that What We Built doc artifact?
Yeah, and like, I mean, we speak with other CS leaders in other companies as well, where they like understand the struggle can be real. We love our R&D teammates, but their primary focus is not having all this beautiful documentation together for customers, right? They're like, look, that's on the customer support team. So it does take a lot of partnership and negotiation, and helping paint the picture of why it's so important for us to get all the information, even if it's a bit of a mess. We just need all that information so that we can actually format it and structure it properly to be able to give it to Finn and also our team as well. So there's definitely like a lot of I would say just like building really strong relationships and partnerships, and explaining why to your R&D partners, like why it's an issue if folks or your AI agent don't have the information upfront before a launch actually happens, right? And like I said, like after a launch, like we still have a process where the team are able to, the frontline team, like there's going to be questions that we didn't think of beforehand, right? And there needs to be a really solid process around the team being able to say, hey, I'm after getting these new questions. We don't have content on this. Like, build it really quickly, get it in there so that the next time Finn can actually answer it, right? So that's one piece of it, is that like partnership. And then like you're not kind of one and done with it. You don't just launch and then everything is perfect. Like you have to keep iterating on that as well.
No, that's helpful advice. And I like what I'm hearing, there's that relationship with the product. Like, people are spending a lot of time building cool shit. They want customers to use it and to like it. And so framing it in that way, if it's like, help, like we're in this together. And Paul was talking about this on the Ideas podcast they just launched, where especially nowadays with AI, like it doesn't have to be some perfect, like you said, it doesn't have to be some perfectly formatted thing. Like, get in a room with like Gemini or Granola, or like just click record, like ask them these questions or talk to them about what they were building. And like, you can take that and put that into Finn, even if it's not perfectly formatted or structured for your external help center. It's at least there so that when people are messaging in, they're getting the answer, and it's one less conversation for your human support team. So like the way we can go about it these days is different and easier. And I think it's just about like you said, have the relationship and know that it's not like a one and done, and keeping that process going even after launch day.
Yeah, totally. And like, I actually need to share the prompt that my knowledge manager uses for this, right? So, she will get the what we built doc from R&D and then often be like, chasing for some more information or more like more guides, more screenshots. But it actually doesn't matter if it's a bit all over the place because she takes it and puts it through. She uses AI to build it into something a lot more formatted. So she has a prompt where she's like, write this up in X number of articles, like build it into this type of collection, make a list of FAQs. What are the things customers might be confused about? Like there's a whole huge prompt that she uses for this, like build some internal macros for our team to use. It's actually incredible. And the amount of time it would have taken before to sift through a giant kind of messy internal doc and try and like format that into something that was really digestible by humans in our help center and also by AI. That's happening now in minutes rather than potentially days before.
Yeah, it's such a great example of how much of this world is changing. And it's like, cool, if if you've been a knowledge manager for years, you're still doing things the same way, like you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to go back to that point around having the human support team get involved because this is something you and I talk about and we talk about with the wider team. We really try to drive home the point that like resolution rates isn't just Ruth's responsibility, or it's not just Fred and Beth Ann's responsibility. Like it really does take a village. It is. I think our support org, we're like 130 people now. Like every single one of us is responsible for Finn's performance. And so you mentioned the importance of having everybody contributing to that, and whether that's through like our kind of more formal process where people can go in and submit a ticket, or even just informally. I think Beth Ann probably gets lots of different pings, or we'll have that new product introduction Slack channel on the day of where folks can quickly go in and drop things. Yeah, I guess like how do you view that connection of like it's not that we need the frontline team, the unboxing teams also contributing to this?
Yeah. So, this that we're trying to build this culture that on the team that the first time you get a question that Finn hasn't been able to answer should be the last time. Now, obviously, that's aspirational because sometimes there's some really complex stuff that like we're still working on getting Finn to be able to do some of those things. But if folks approach it with that mentality, especially if it's something where like Finn could have answered if the content was there, like that's a really like simple one rather than like, this deep troubleshooting thing that we need to try and build this huge Finn task and data connectors for. But we're trying to drive that now with the team where like if they get a question from a customer and they're like, Finn really should or could have answered that they're actually taking some action on that. And we're enabling them with fairly, quick and easy to use processes to be able to make these improvement suggestions. And, we've been speaking about like, how are we going to build this into like as a KPI for the frontline team? Because for so long, the KPIs have been very much like productivity based in terms of like answer the next question and the next question and the next question. And we're trying to build out space for them and also like a reward system for these, behaviors of the future that we need, where they're making these continuous improvement suggestions over time. And more we want them to be able to actually implement those suggestions themselves as well. Because right now, we are in this kind of loop where, like, for the most part, they'll suggest something and then someone else does it later on. Like, it would be amazing if we could start allowing them to make a bunch of changes in the moment as well. We're like, we're not quite there yet. I think other teams, especially if they don't have a knowledge manager or a conversation designer, they probably can allow their team like to start making changes on the fly a bit more. Like we have quite a big process around that, and I would like to shave that back a bit and allow the teams to be making changes on the go as well to speed everything up for everyone. But just that idea of like the first time you get a question should be the last time. I think that's just a really helpful way of thinking through your customer experience and then your team's experience as well. They shouldn't have to answer the same questions over and over again. If it's something that's repetitive, AI should be doing that, right?
Yeah.
And that's just really something we're trying to champion with our team at the moment.
Well, and I feel like it's especially important for back on the topic of like new product introduction. You look like a real doofus if you've announced this new product or like something is different in the product and the customer goes to ask about it and Finn is there and it's like, no, it's not supposed to, like, that doesn't exist, or like it used to work this way. It doesn't. And it's crazy because humans would make these same type of mistakes. Like they wouldn't have checked their email, or maybe they missed the training to give the wrong information. But there's something about AI agents where they give the wrong information once because it's something to get updated. And it can really hurt that trust in the AI agent's performance. And so I think having for new product introductions, that ability for anybody to be able to jump in, or even if it's a small cohort to start, it's so pivotal to keeping that trust. And I think, we were talking about this week. Intercom launched this big new Fin guarantee program where you can use Fin. I think it's the first 90 days. And if you are unhappy with its performance, you can get up to $1 million refunded back to you in those Fin resolutions. And we also launched this Fin guarantee program where you can work with our teams, where if we go hand in hand and work on this, you have to have a certain overall volume. But if we don't get the resolution rates, I think we said 65%, we'll give you $1 million. That's how confident we are in this. And it was this big splash. We were talking about it in the company Slack channel. And by the time it went live, most of us in Dublin had gone home. And so thankfully, the team in Chicago were able to just still go in, take some of that information from the website, quickly get that added to Fin, so that immediately, 5 minutes later, as customers and prospects started asking Fin questions about this new guarantee program, they were getting the right answer. Nobody until this podcast, nobody knew that we didn't know about it until that day of. And that's that's this new world of support, that nimbleness and blended roles, I think, to really make sure that teams can have these great resolution rates and these trust and AI agents.
Yes, absolutely. As you were saying there about it was end of day, things were happening. We didn't have all the details. So as much as we have our new product introduction process, things do still come out of the blue when you're working at a really fast-paced startup, right? And you just got to roll with it and figure it out. It reminds me of a time a few months ago where we made a change to the UI that initially wasn't the most popular one with some of our customers, right? So we shipped a change. Some customers were like, "Why didn't you tell us about this in advance?" We thought it was going to be not that big a deal. Anyone who builds software is going to understand this, right? Not that big a deal ends up being a big deal for some customers, and suddenly we had this huge influx of feedback from customers, or they were asking questions about it, they were confused, and we were like, how are we going to get Fin to answer this? Are we going to put this in our help center that we made this change? If you don't like it, sorry. How are we even going to deal with this? And it was a really cool use of snippets for Fin. That's how we use snippets now, is for kind of once-off, sometimes only temporary issues that have come up. So we wrote up a piece about here's what's happened, here's what you need to know. And it was just a small blurb, but again, it was thousands of conversations fielded by Fin, rather than it all going to the human support team and backing up the queue, because we were able to take that action. And different folks on the team had the access and privileges that they needed to go in and make the changes that they needed to be able to do this. And then when that when that all calmed down a bit, we were able to just remove that snippet again, because it's no longer something customers are asking us about. So it's just that piece around being kind of nimble as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, the other piece is what you're saying with the ongoing maintenance and it taking a village. There's a lot of different processes that we use for folks to be able to flag if content is out of date, or if they've gotten a question from a customer that they haven't gotten before and they want to go into Fin. So we use our back office tickets for that. We have Slack channels for it. The team have a process called expected behavior, right? So sometimes they will go to our R&D team and be like, I think this is a bug. And R&D are like, no, that's actually how it's meant to work. And we're like, right, we got to build that into our content so that next time a customer asks about it, we're like, yeah, this is actually how it's meant to work and here's how you use it. So there's all these mechanisms that we have to make sure that we are just pumping as much content into Fin as possible, and that as many people as possible are empowered to care and do that and see the results on the other end of it.
Yeah, and not writing off in the moment to be like, this is just a once off. No one's going to ask this again.
Yeah.
But when you have 10,000 conversations a week, someone's probably going to ask it again at some point. And it's all of those tiny little things add up to kind of get those overall results. Awesome. Well, Ruth, this has been a great chat. Hopefully folks have learned something a little bit about new product introduction and product changes. And I will see you at our next meeting.
All right. Bye.